Scott. I spoke with Rusty, and he's going to be about 10 or 15 minutes late joining the meeting.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started if he's the only one we're missing in about 30 seconds here, it looks like. So everybody else is on Prime Gov and ready to go?
I don't see Mr. Pennington.
Okay.
Did you want me to make a quick call?
I think that'd be a good idea.
She had to call me a few minutes ago because I thought it was Wednesday, and she reminded me it was Thursday. So I'm in a mad dash for my computer.
It is indeed Thursday. And at this point, it is 1:30 on Thursday. So we're going to get started. Hopefully, Commissioner Pennington will join us shortly. But welcome, everybody, to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Oklahoma City Planning Commission for Thursday, February 25th. Appreciate everybody joining us today. Couple of announcements before we get started relating to our meeting today. If the video conference is disconnected at any time during the meeting shall be stopped and reconvened once the audio connection is restored. If communications are unable to be restored within 30 minutes, items remaining for consideration will be continued to the next regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting, which is set for March 11th at 1:30 p.m. That meeting is also at this point scheduled to be held by video conference. The agenda and documents for today's meeting can be located at okc.gov. If you have questions during the meeting, probably the best way to get a quick answer would be to email Cindy Lakin, cindy.lakin@okc.gov. For anyone wishing to speak about an agenda item or to speak under citizens to be heard, you can simply raise your hand during the meeting. In order to do that, you use Alt-Y on your computer or *9 on your phone. In order to mute or unmute your phone, you use *6, and on your computer, you use the space bar. I will allow for public comment on each agenda item at the appropriate time. I'll call on you, and you will be allowed 3 minutes to comment during today's meeting. I just ask that if you are wanting to be heard, use the hand raise button, and that way we can call on you sequentially if it's required. Commission members will be allowed to speak at any time, and they can simply mute or unmute at their leisure. And just as a reminder to commission members too, we've essentially agreed to participate via video conference, so you need to stay in front of your camera at all times, keep your camera on at all times. If you need to step away from your computer, just interrupt the meeting to announce that you're stepping away for a moment and you'll be back. Should anyone be not present for, Susan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 15 minutes, we're required to do a roll call. With that, we will call the meeting to order. We'll be voting today, or attempting to do so, by PrimeGov. And with that, we'll get started. The first order of business on today's meeting, is to receive the minutes from the February 11th, 2021 meeting. Do I have a motion on those, or is there discussion?
Motion to receive those minutes.
Second.
I have a motion, and that was seconded by Commissioner Hinkle. We'll see if that registers through PrimeGov. It does. Please cast your votes when available.
Hinkle's a yes.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hinkle. And those minutes are received. Next order of business are continuance requests. I know we had some previously announced uncontested requests, and I believe we have a couple of new requests. Mr. Butler is at wisdom today. Mr. Chambliss, you want to read those for us?
Be glad to. I have two uncontested requests. Item 8, SPUD 1229, defer indefinitely. And item 11, C7270, defer to March 11th.
Is there anyone who wanted to be heard on any of those items today? Again, that's item number 8 on today's agenda, or item number 11. Hearing none, I'll take a motion on those two continuances.
I move approval of the uncontested request.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Waiting for those to register on PrimeGov, and when they do, we'll cast our votes.
Mr. Hinkle,
Yes, please.
Sorry about that. And those continuances are approved unanimously. We have two new requests. Is that correct, Mr. Chambliss?
That's right. The first is item 5, SPUD 1295, applicant requests to defer that to March 11th. And item 6, SPUD 1292, applicant requests that case to go to March 25.
And because those were late to the game, I'm going to pause a little bit longer to see if anybody has comment on those. But is there anybody here that wanted to be heard on those items today? Again, that's SPUD 1295 and SPUD 1292, items 5 and 6 on today's agenda. Spacebar will unmute you, as will *6. Okay, hearing no comment, I will take a motion on those continuance requests.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes when available. Commissioner Hinkle, how do you vote?
Yes, please.
And those continuance requests are approved unanimously. Next item, we have no consent docket today, so we'll move right into items requiring separate vote. First item for separate consideration is item number 1. Mr. Chambliss.
One is CE 1047. It's an application by OnQ to close 641 feet of a fire lane easement located at 820 South Meridian, and David Box represents the applicant.
Mr. Box, anything to add to staff's introduction to your item?
David Box, 522 Colcord Drive. Just that, as the staff indicates, it's no longer needed. No objection was raised when we filed it by any department within Oklahoma City. The OnQ is actually built. This is really just cleanup of the site from this easement that exists that's no longer needed.
Is this needed to allow the drive-through as well?
That's my belief, yes.
Yeah, okay. Commissioner Coffey, this is your ward. Any questions or concerns on this item?
No, I have no questions.
Okay, I don't have anyone signed up to speak, so I'll pause just a moment to see if anybody wants to be heard. *6 or the space bar on your computer will unmute. Hearing and seeing none, I'll take a motion on this item if there's no discussion from commissioners.
I move approval of CE 1047.
Blair, second.
I have a motion and a second to recommend approval to City Council on CE 1047. Please cast your votes when available. Commissioner Hinkle, how do you vote?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Pennington. I'm trying to log in, but I don't know if it let me, so I might have abstained, but I would have been a yes.
Oh, we'll cast your vote accordingly. Please register Commissioner Pennington's vote as a yes on item number 1.
Thank you.
And that item is approved unanimously. Thank you. Next item on today's agenda is item number 2.
Item 2, case
Mr. Chairman, it's Francis.
Yes?
Just a reminder, it's a webinar, so you may want to add the raised hand instructions.
Got it. So, and as I recall from my notes, that is *9 on your phone or Alt-Y. Is that correct?
I know it's *9 and there's a button they can push on the Zoom
Yeah,
call.
it's Alt-Y.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Chambliss.
Item 2, case 7271, it's the final plat of Oak Hollow Industrial Park. It's located south of Southeast 89th Street and east of I-35.
And who's the applicant on this?
Jim Johnson with Johnson Associates, 1 East Sheridan, Oklahoma City.
Mr. Johnson, anything to add to staff's introduction to your item?
No, this is a plat that was, just to clarify, for clarification, this is a plat that had been seen previously, but then there was a purchaser of the large tract of I-2 on the west half. And so they didn't want the street to be public through their property. So we resubmitted and amended the plans to allow for the street to stop where it shows in front of lot 2.
Okay, I'll just note for the purposes of the record that our staff report indicates the design of this final plat conforms to the approved preliminary plat. the I-2 zoning district regulations, and the subdivision regulations as they relate to non-residential developments. With that, Commissioner Privet, this is your ward, sir. Do you have comments, thoughts, or questions on this one?
None whatsoever. If we have no comment, I'm ready to make a motion.
Well, let's find out. Is there anyone here that wants to be heard today on item number 2, which is C-7271? And just to provide those instructions again, *6 on your phone or the space bar will unmute you. *9 on your phone or Alt-Y on your computer will raise your hand to be recognized. Hearing and seeing none, if there's no discussion from commissioners, Commissioner Privet, I'll take a motion.
Move approval of C-7271, final plat of the Oak Hollow Industrial Park Phase 3.
I have a motion and hopefully a second online here. I have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes when available. Commissioner Hinkle, how do you vote on this one?
Yes, please.
And Commissioner Pennington, are you able to vote on PrimeGov yet?
Yes, I can vote. Sorry.
No problem. And that application is approved unanimously. Next item on today's agenda is item number 3. Mr. Chambliss? You're on mute, JJ. There you go.
Okay. That was weird.
A new day.
Okay, PUDSP 1584D, application by 900 Apartments. Specific plan pursuant to the approval of PUD 1584, located at 8500 North Oklahoma Avenue. This is a new, for a new multifamily project at the 900 Broadway development. And Johnson and Associates represents the application.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, again, Tim Johnson, 1 East Sheridan, Oklahoma City. Just all I have to add is a clarification in the notice. It's at 900. It's actually 9,000 Broadway Apartments. And their name's being changed to Broadview. But yes, I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
Okay, I'll just note for the purpose of the record that staff indicates that the specific plan meets the technical requirements of the underlying zoning, which is PUD 1584. And with that, Commissioner Pennington, this is your ward, sir, so I'll let you address any questions or concerns you have.
Thanks. No questions. No questions from me. I support it.
Okay. Is there anybody here that wants to be heard on this item today? This is a specific plan application, PUD-SP 1584D. *6 or the space bar will unmute you. *9 or Alt-Y will raise your hand. I'll pause. Seeing none. If there's no discussion from commissioners, Commissioner Pennington, I think we're ready for a motion on this one.
I move approval of item 3.
I have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes when available. Commissioner Hinkle, how will you vote?
Yes, please.
Mr. Pennington?
I'll get called out by the teacher now, come on. And that application is approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Next item on today's agenda is item number 4. Mr. Chambliss?
There we go. The space bar is not working for some reason. Item 4, C-7272, preliminary plat of Lincoln Industrial Park, located south of Northwest 150th and east of Lincoln Boulevard. And variance, two variances listed. Jared Martin with staff can give a brief introduction.
Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
Yeah. So they're proposing 29 industrial lots on a single entrance that'll come off North Lincoln Boulevard. It'll lead to 2 cul-de-sac streets. The first variance that they need is for the length of the cul-de-sacs. It's an industrial development, but regardless, in an urban area in Oklahoma City, we require cul-de-sac length to be a maximum of 700 feet. They're exceeding that by almost twice with the second cul-de-sac. But again, it is an industrial development, which is a little different, but no real differentiation in the subregs. The second variance request, they can do a street stub to the east. That property to the east is partially undeveloped and partially developed. The subregs require connections to adjacent parcels. They can either make that street stub there, which may or may not be connected to in the future, or request that variance.
Okay. Is the applicant with us today? I think I see him now.
Yes, Riz Najmi with NAP Engineering.
Do you have anything you want to add to staff's introduction of the item?
No, I think on the Nestle plant on the east side, we think it's already developed and has full access off of Kelly on the east side. We don't see the potential or the need for that stub, and that's why we wanted to request for that variance. So we could just have our lots and create a development off of our own. That was and then when we talked to the staff about it, they thought we had a good chance of going through and request for the variance. Hence, we move forward with it.
Okay. All right. Well, I think obviously outside of the variance that's being requested, this preliminary plat is in conformance, but we've got the variance. So Commissioner Pennington, this is your ward, sir. I'll turn it over to you for questions or thoughts or comments.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. I understand, given the character of the area, I know obviously it's been a priority for this commission. Connectivity has been a priority, but given the industrial character, I've got no issues with that particular variance, got no issues with the cul-de-sac variance unless staff has any concerns that they want to make sure that we are all aware of or take into account. Other than that, I don't have any issues.
Yeah, I think when I looked at this, it would sort of be different if there was like a street that connected all these industrial properties over to the east that may eventually be able to go through and connect. But it looks to me like it's just private properties to the east that go all the way to Kelly. Staff, can you confirm that? Somebody confirm that, whether that's Jared or JJ or somebody else?
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me as well. I know off of Kelly, you've got several large distribution centers. It's a little hard to tell looking at the county data if the part that's vacant in between this site and those sites is just the back of those sites, or if it's a separate piece. There is still opportunity between what I think is shown. If you go back to that last map, that'd be great. Cindy, thanks. What's between what is shown as skating rink and the Pepsi distribution center, it looks like you could maybe get a road out there. It also looks like you can connect either one of those parking lots in the future. Again, it's hard to tell what the ownership of that is, but everything around it is developing.
Just to interject, this is Riz again. We checked the ownership. It is one single ownership all the way back. And those, like I discussed, those plants are developed. Those are private properties that are operating there, the skating rink and the, I think it's the Nestle Purina plant or some that they're operating over there. So there's no other ownership in between our development and Kelly, except for these two.
All right, let's see if there's anybody else that wants to be heard on this item. Again, this is item number 4 on today's agenda, C7272. If you'd like to be heard on this today, be *6 to unmute on your phone or spacebar. If you want to raise your hand, it'd be Alt-Y on your computer or *9 on your phone. I'll pause a moment. Seeing none. Other commissioners have thoughts or comments on this? And if not, I'll turn it back to Commissioner Pennington.
What's going on just due north of this site? Is that
due north is the new FedEx facility.
Okay.
It's already developed and operational.
Any other questions? All right, Commissioner Pennington, let's see where we are.
All right, I'd like to move approval of the variance to section 5.3.2.1.d.5 of the subdivision regulations.
I have a motion on the first variance. Please cast your votes on that. Oh, there's my second. Now we can cast our votes. Thank you, Commissioner Clare. Commissioner Hinkle, how do you vote?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, this is Rusty LaForge. I joined the meeting late. I apologize. I joined at the introduction of this item though, and so I'm voting on this item. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Glad you made it. Are we waiting on anybody's vote?
Yes, Commissioner Coffey.
Which variance is this?
This is variance, this is TE2, section 5.3.1.D5 of the subdivision regulations. Commissioner Coffey, how do you vote on this? I see
Yes.
her. There we go. She's voted in the affirmative.
There we go.
And that variance is approved. There's another variance, Commissioner Pennington, under TE3 we need to address.
Move approval of the variance to table 5.1 of section 5.3.2 of the subdivision regulations.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Please cast your votes when available.
Commissioner Coffey.
Commissioner Hinkle, how do you vote?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Still waiting for, yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Coffey, we're still waiting on your vote, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you. And that variance is approved unanimously. Just to confirm that last vote, Commissioner Privet, you voted against the first variance. I just want to confirm that.
Correct.
Okay, just making sure. So we're ready for a motion on the item, Commissioner Pennington.
I move approval of item 4.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary plat for C-7272. Please cast your votes when available. Commissioner Hinkle, how do you vote?
Yes, please.
And that application is approved unanimously. Items 5 and 6 were continued. So the next item on today's agenda is item number 7. Mr. Chambliss.
Item 7, SPUD 1296 is an application by Leonard Hansen to rezone 221 West Wilshire Boulevard from SPUD 240 to a new SPUD. This is a 4.7 acre site. It's located on the south side of 79th between Harvey Place and Robinson. It's currently zoned SPUD 233, which is a SPUD with an I-1 base. This is a new SPUD with an I-1 base that basically reflects everything in the current SPUD 233 with this following exception. It adds agricultural processing, food and beverage sales, and horticulture, but eliminates retail sales. Staff found it to be in conformance with the urban low LUDA, recommends approval, no technical evaluations. And Leonard Hansen is the applicant.
Mr. Hansen, are you with us today?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to add anything to staff's introduction of your item?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Pennington, you're busy today. This is your ward. You have comments or thoughts or concerns on this one?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. The first one is, and this may be a ridiculous question considering how long I've been on this commission, but when it comes to food and beverage sales as its own use unit, that's not a restaurant. You know, I'm used to seeing it as like food or restaurant, like sit down. I'm used to seeing convenience sales. Is this like, what is this exactly? Like a grocery store? What makes it food and beverage sales?
Yeah, so that's just it. That's just added verbiage, just if for future reference. We don't have anyone that's currently interested in doing food or beverage. personally, it would probably not be a great location for that since it sits behind another building that's facing Wilshire, but and that's kind of what makes the location a little challenging to lease. But we just thought, since we're at it, there might be someone that could use it as like a prep kitchen place, if they were going to have like a commissary or something that they could use to prep food and then sell the food at like a carry out type thing. Or
Mr. Hanson, I wasn't, that was a question for staff. I figured you wanted that use unit. I just wanted to be clear. There wasn't any objection to it. I just wanted to be
yeah. I thought you were asking.
exactly it was.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yep.
It's okay.
Mr. Chambliss, can you answer Commissioner Pennington's question, please?
It's not really a restaurant use unit. It's a retail, like a small, one of like a candy shop or something like that.
Like a snack
Small,
bar.
small retail of edibles.
So would that, since they're able to, if we approve agricultural processing and horticulture to go with it, does that then mean that they could open a dispensary with it?
No.
Okay.
Because they've removed the retail sales.
Exactly.
Okay, just want to be clear, because I know this is, and Mr. Hanson, you're gonna get this question when you get to the city council, by the way. So just be aware that that is going to be something that I know that Councilwoman Nice is going to be very sensitive to that, and that the neighbors are going to be very sensitive to that. So I wanted you to be aware of it. Those are my only questions, were about the retail uses. And it looks like the ventilation is going to be required if the processing goes through. So if the agricultural processing goes through and he decides to have a marijuana use. So I don't have any other objections.
Okay. Let's see if there's anybody here that wants to be heard on this item. Members of the public, this is SPUD 1296, item number 7 on today's agenda. If you would push *9 on your phone or Alt-Y on your computer, and that'll help us see that you want to be recognized. Is there anybody that wants to be heard on this item? This would be your chance. I don't see any. So if there's no discussion from other commissioners on this item, I think we'll take a motion, Commissioner Pennington, but let's see.
Mr. Chairman, I do have some comment to make on this. I'm not crazy about the idea of this being a retail type use. It fronts directly across the street, single family residential. I don't have any problem at all with the agricultural or processing part of the application. It's all going to be indoors and so on, but it does not strike me as a good place for any type of, semi-retail use. So if they do not have a specific user in mind, if it would be possible for them to relinquish that use, I would have no objection to the remainder.
You're talking about use unit 8300.41?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pose that question to Mr. Hanson at this point. Any objection to the deletion of that use unit? Mr. Hanson?
Yes, sir. Yep. Sorry. No.
Okay, Commissioner Pennington, do you have any objection to striking that?
No.
Okay, well, that sounds like we have a deal. If there's no objection and is there any other discussion or comments, Commissioner Powers?
No, that was my sole point of concern.
Okay, I think Commissioner Pennington, if you're ready to make a motion, we just need to add a TE to strike 8300.41.
Perfect. I move approval of item 7 and adding an additional TE, eliminating the use unit for food and beverage sales.
I have a motion and a second. There it is. I have a motion and a second to recommend approval to City Council on SPD 1296, adding a TE to delete 8300.41. Please cast your votes. Commissioner Hinkle, how do you vote?
Yes, please.
Excellent. And that application is approved unanimously. Good luck, Mr. Hanson, with your project.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, item number 8, has been continued. So the next item on today's agenda is item number 9. I need to recuse myself from this item and the companion zoning item. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Vice Chairman Pennington to conduct the meeting. And at this time, I'll turn my video off until the conclusion of these next two items.
Okay, item number 9 is CPA 2021-03. It's a consideration of a comprehensive plan map amendment, changing the land use topology north of Reno and east of Kilpatrick Turnpike by removing the heavy industrial layer. Kim Cooperhart with the Planning Department will present the application.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Cindy, next slide. So we like this one. We do, because we're encouraged when we see someone trying to do some multi-use in an area that's a little transitional. And we liked it so much that we took an extra look at the area and we said, you know, there's a whole chunk of this area that's really ready to have this HI lifted. And so you'll see that our recommendations include not just the subject area for the rezoning, but also the area that you see off to the left there going out toward the turnpike, that staff is also recommending that we lift the HI layer there as well. Next slide. This is just a larger picture so you can see generally where the site's located in the context of the city. And here it is with the LUDAs that are around it. And it is in an HI layer that planning staff assigned when we did Plan OKC, because this whole area at the time it is very industrial, but it's not always going to stay that way. There's going to be pockets of industrial, and especially near a strong intersection like this where you have an opportunity for some more varied use. We really like the idea of a little softer development at this corner. Next slide. And this is just straight out of Plan OKC telling you what the HI layer is intended for, but it doesn't really support housing, which is why lifting it will allow the rezoning to go through with compliance. Next slide. And this right here is what's underneath the HI layer, and this is what it would be for that area when we lift it. It's served by water, wastewater, and fire. Mostly all by fire, so it's in a good location. Here's the existing zoning around it and existing conditions. You can see that there's a good combination of of industrial and commercial and so forth. It's a very nice mixed area, and we thought the development was kind of complementing that. Carry on. So our recommendation is to go ahead and lift the HI layer for the subject property for the rezoning, and also to extend the lifting all the way over to the area described here on the map and on your resolution. I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Let's start with any questions from Commissioner Clare, since this is Ward 1.
No, not at all. I'm in complete agreement with staff. I think this is a great opportunity to start to interject some office, some multifamily, and kind of a lifestyle center in this area with, so close to the interchange of the turnpike. I think this is a great site and a good application.
Great. Any other questions from commissioners for Kim?
Commissioner Coffey, I have a question. Is this in the Mustang School District?
Oh,
or
let me bring up the staff report and look, Commissioner Coffey, and get myself out of my full screen and pull that up here.
I believe it is Mustang. I think we have a letter from Mustang Schools.
I expect I'll have some questions in that regard.
Yes, ma'am. History. I'm looking at the staff report here, and I'm a little embarrassed to say that I'm not seeing where it says that I think it may say on the rezoning request, and I apologize, ma'am.
This is David Box. It's Mustang Schools.
Thank you, David. We
Huh?
usually put that right on here.
Well, I see
Okay,
it on page 3 of the comp plan report.
Okay,
okay.
yeah. Probably identified in the PUD. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions for Kim? And I think we're at the point of citizens to be heard. Do we have anybody on that signed up to speak? Or anybody that wishes to be heard at this time?
Have anyone signed up?
Thank you, Cindy.
Just a reminder what *6 or Alt-Y or the space bar.
Thank you. And we keep hearing it so many times that I actually keep forgetting what the prompt is besides *6. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Any other commissioners? Any comments from commissioners at this time?
Now you can hit Alt-A too to unmute if you want more confusion.
There you go. Alt-8, *6.
Alt-A, yeah.
Alt-A. Why did I say 8?
I don't think you can trust Commissioner Privet. I think that'll end up with some sort of strange background or a filter.
This is a good point. Any other comments, questions from commissioners at this time? If not, I'm ready to entertain a motion.
If no further comment, I'm happy to motion approval of CPA 2021-003, the map amendment to the comp plan.
All right, it's been moved. Let's see if we have a second.
I'll second. Rusty got it.
Say it again, Commissioner Privet.
Rusty got it. Nothing.
And I believe we need to take a voice vote for Commissioner Hinkle. How do you vote?
Yes, please.
We have have we received everybody's vote?
Commissioner Claire,
Apologies.
It's all good. And item 9 unanimously passes. We're now ready for consideration of item 10, PUD 1808.
Item 10 is PUD 1808, application by Westgate Park LLC to rezone 10201 West Reno from I-2 to the PUD district. And this is a 19-acre site, north side of Reno, just east of Sarah. It's currently zoned I-2. That's going to a PUD with an R4 base to accommodate a new multifamily project. With your lifting of the HI layer, staff would recommend approval. There's 3 TEs, and David Box represents the applicant.
Yeah, good afternoon, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant, who is Dick Tannenbaum. He's also on the line somewhere. As JJ said, this is the companion item. It's a PUD to allow for a multifamily project to exist in the Westgate Office Park area. I'm going to share my screen if I could, I think. Cindy, would you allow me to share my screen and I'll walk through those renderings? Okay. So it's approximately a 20-acre site. Can everybody see my screen now?
Yes.
So Mr. Tannenbaum has been developing this area for several years now. Part of the reason staff increased the size of the comprehensive plan change request was because of this exhibit right here. Although it was designated as heavy industrial, as you can see, it has developed as something more of a office or commercial campus type environment, which staff rightly points out in their staff report. So you can see how this proposed project will interact with the existing retail, office, and commercial in the area. I'm going to walk through just a few slides that show kind of the overview. This is a building that exists. You know, this is a nice water feature. Again, all of this will connect. One of the technical evaluations the staff has requested is a pedestrian easement to allow pedestrian access from the multifamily project to the west to the office park. We do agree to that. We agree to all the TEs. So we think that this addition will interact nicely with the existing infrastructure. The real purpose for the development is to find a nice product that will allow for the many opportunities that exist in the area to have a nice multifamily project to live in. I'll just scroll through a few more, and then I'm going to address the school issue. So a really nice product. Next in the line, several very nice products that Mr. Tannenbaum has done in the Metro. Just a few more, and then I'll shift gears here. All of Mr. Tannenbaum's projects are really amenity driven. That's why they last through time and end up being nice and don't fall into some of the problems that the city has found that other developments have had. You had the letter from Mustang Schools in your packet, concerned about school overcrowding. So as I mentioned, what Mr. Tannenbaum is looking at with this project is not a product that frankly would be appealing to people with school-age children. His products tend to be appealing to people that are looking to find a place to live in close proximity to large-scale employment opportunities. If you think, I'm going to shift to here. So here's a list of some of the other products that Mr. Tannenbaum has. And so you've got the Montgomery, the Classen, Park Harvey, Lincoln at Central Park, Liberty Point, J. Marshall Square, Liberty Creek, and the new one that's under construction is the Presley on Lincoln. So if you think about all of those in the locations of where they are, the central theme is going to be large scale employment. Obviously the downtown ones. The Lincoln at Central Park, you obviously have the Capitol right down Lincoln. You have all the OU Health Science stuff also, which is applicable to the Presley. J. Marshall Square, very close proximity to Chesapeake and all of the things on Western. Liberty Point, as well as Liberty Creek Village. Those are in close proximity to Tinker, another large scale employment opportunity. And so if you look at this exhibit here, what you'll see is, our subject site is over here on the left side of the screen. And all of these things you see are large scale or large employers, as in why we believe that this site makes sense to draw those employees for a quality place to live. There are, if you look at here, the daytime population, there are employee population, 3,893 within a 1 mile radius and over 17,000 employment opportunities within a 3 mile radius. So we believe that there's a lot of demand out there for people that are working in these large scale employers out in the area without a product like this to enjoy. And so if you look across the products that Mr. Tannenbaum has, I asked them to go compile some data based upon the letter. What they found is today, so any given snapshot, but today they have approximately 10 residents of the 2,442 units that have school-age children. So that equates to 0.004% of their tenants have children. Myself and my family actually lived in one of these developments at a time in which we were renovating our house. And I can tell you, my children were the only children in the entire property. There were way more dogs than there ever were children. And so I think these numbers, bear that out. So his target is not people with school-age children. His target is people that want to live in close proximity to all of these employment opportunities. So we believe this to be a compatible development. I understand that one of the questions that has been raised, and I'm going to stop sharing that and share the other one, is this idea that we are, we're placing this product in an area that has a lot of industrial zoning. And so to that end, this exhibit, I think, will do a good job of explaining. We have taken great care to ensure that we don't create conflicts. In the PUD, we require the residential buildings to be set back at least 50 feet from the north boundary and the east boundary. Staff has some technical evaluations asking for trees on 20-foot centers, which we agree to, and site-proof screening on the north and the east, also which we agree to. So we think with those measures put in place in the master design statement that we have effectively mitigated any potential impact that may create problems later with a later development of an industrial piece. So we think we've taken all the appropriate steps to push that product south and west towards the existing office and commercial. So we'd ask for your approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Box, is the lake that's pictured there, is that the one that's currently in place in front of the technology center there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for staff just to kind of start this conversation. Obviously, we spent a great deal of time in our previous meeting dealing with the mining issue, mining request near a neighborhood. And so we do have an issue whenever we're introducing residential into a place that is surrounded by industrial zoning. I know that Mr. Tannenbaum, I believe, David, you told me that he owns the property to the north and to the west, but I guess to the east is an industrial area an area that's zoned industrial that he does not own. And so my question for staff is this: are there adequate protections so that if this industrial property owner wanted to continue to develop their property with industrial uses, that it's not going to be a problem for them to continue to develop, basically?
We believe so. First, the 50-foot setback that was self-imposed by the applicant is fairly substantial. So you'll have a 50-foot open space before you ever reach a property line of the industrial. And then the 2 TEs that we added to add trees on 20-foot centers all along that line and to put site-proof screening on the property line should go a long way to protect the apartment.
Gotcha.
What is the property directly to the east zoned? Is it I-2?
I-2.
I'm with Kamal on concern for the people that own the I-2 over there, because 50 feet's a long way, but 200 feet wasn't enough for a mining facility. And I think of the metal crushing things that have been on Reno for years and years and put a couple of hotels in, and people are complaining about the noise. So I'm kind of with Kamal on this. I'd like to talk a little bit more about mitigation measures or something about protecting the guy on the east who's been there for years.
Oh, I mean, we feel like we've mitigated with the 50-foot setback, trees on 20-foot centers, which is a fairly aggressive tree plan, site-proof screening. We think we've done all of those things. The 2 uses that you specifically bring up, a mining operation, of course, is not one that is allowed by right. It is almost impossible for me to see a mining operation occurring here based upon the development pattern, based upon where it is next to the highway. And the other is the car operation on Reno. I mean, my understanding of those is those are frankly illegal I-3, extremely heavy industrial in which a bad operator is not removing fluids from cars and therefore causing explosions. This is I-2, not I-3. We don't expect to have those types of conflicts here. And again, we think that the 50-foot with the trees and the site-proof screening really gets us there. And the site to the east is really already developed. If you look at an aerial, it is developed, understanding that it could be redeveloped, but it is developed. So we think we have the appropriate measures.
Mr. Box.
Can I just add a comment? Dick Tannenbaum here, 131 Park Avenue, downtown Oklahoma City, number 2900, 29th floor. The 80 acres to the east, which I tried to acquire, is a Seagate office building and distribution center. It has some environmental issues, so those buildings will always be an office building because it can't be redeveloped. I tried to buy it, but I didn't want to buy it with all of its issues, and Seagate didn't want to get out of it. So that property is developed, and it will always be those office buildings, and it's 80 acres, and it runs along our whole east boundary. So I don't think we'll have an issue as apartment dwellers, office building tenants, and retail people, and they certainly won't have an issue. They're welcoming us. Their people would love to live there. And that's one of the employers in the area, Seagate. And it's 380,000 square feet of office and research labs on 80 acres. That's all.
Looks like their parking lot goes all the way to the property.
Yeah, it's all developed.
Commissioner Powers, you had a question?
I did. Mr. Box, just to be clear about this in my own mind, we're talking about this 50-foot buffer. As I'm looking at, sort of a diagram of the site, is the 50 feet between the property line and the parking spaces?
Can you, yeah, if you see the aerial you see, the 50 feet is from the property line until the residential buildings. So there could be some parking stalls in that area, but it's the residential buildings that is the 50-foot setback. So you will have perhaps some parking stalls, but there is also going to be green space within that, in which, pursuant to the TE, we have now agreed to trees on 20-foot centers.
Other questions from commissioners?
Yeah, I mean, just this is Nate. I'll comment. You know, we always talk about, you know, what we see on plan is just a diagram, but just a little perspective. You see those parking spaces there; those are 20 feet deep. So what's illustrated now is approximately 50 feet of green space between the property line and the parking spaces, 20 feet of parking space, 24 feet of drive aisle, and then the building. So really what's illustrated now, you're looking at about 125 feet to the face of the buildings.
So my question was, I mean, that's what this diagram looks like to me too. And so that's more than 50 feet. That's almost twice 50 feet. And my question is, can we get a commitment to this layout? I mean, it's one thing to say that the buildings themselves will be 50 feet from the property line. This layout would certainly indicate more space than that.
So once we get in and do all the final engineering, perhaps this is what it becomes. What the architect felt comfortable with is that there is no instance in which it will be closer than 50 feet, but final engineering and those types of things are going to tell us where that final line is. But even assuming worst case scenario, a 50-foot buffer would be the biggest buffer that I can recall being granted by the applicant in recent memory. I mean, we've been, if you consider the items in Commissioner Coffey's were recently where we had the industrial in the north and the west, of course, that was single family. But the only thing provided there was a 25-foot buffer, and that was deemed to be acceptable. Here, having a 50-foot buffer with way more trees than we have committed to elsewhere, we believe we've adequately accounted. And again, of course, the trend in this area is frankly more office than heavy industrial.
Here's the thing. I mean, this is the pretty picture problem, of course. Mr. Tannenbaum is a very sophisticated developer. He owns the property to the north. He's not going to allow anything to go in there that's going to be damaging to this very substantial investment he's making in this residential property. I don't have a problem with that. I can live with this layout, but it is a lot more. This layout is showing a lot more than 50 feet between those residential buildings and the property line. If we can commit to this layout, or to 100 feet between the residential buildings and the property line, I'm good. I'm a little nervous doing less than that.
My question would be, if we're nervous at less than 100 feet, why there have been so many recent applications with 25 feet next to heavy industrial, which we are not next to, in which there wasn't a problem. We believe 50 feet to be a very generous buffer. It will be burned on the north side is our belief. And a 50-foot buffer with significant trees, with also site-proof screening, I believe give all of the protections necessary.
May I say something from staff how we landed at the 50 feet?
Please, go ahead, Sarah.
This is Sarah Welch. When the PUD originally came in, it just said that the screening and the setbacks would be per the base zone. But when you put R4 next to I2, there are no requirements for setbacks or screening. So we asked the applicant to establish them. And what the PUD does is it kind of flips what you would have to do if you were going to put I2 next to R4. So that's kind of where those regulations came from. The second thing, and Mr. Box can tell me, make sure I'm not mistaken, but they provided enough information to exempt themselves from the specific plan. So we considered not just the site plan, but the renderings that they're showing to be pretty close to what will actually be developed.
That's good to know.
Well, I hate to be a stickler about it, but I've been burned once before on a layout, as I'm sure Mr. Box will recall, on a residential multifamily development. that was depicted in one way and developed another. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the way it eventually developed, but it was not what was initially proposed. And my vote was for approval of what was initially proposed. So, I mean, unless we can get something more substantial in terms of commitment, I mean, the fact that they're not going to do a specific plan, and therefore, this is sort of our one shot at this. I would, want to see that commitment.
So the architect tells me that it's not 100 feet. I'm not sure if something is lost in the way that it's scaled, but what is shown on that exhibit on your screen is not even close to 100 feet. It's more like 60 feet. And again, as Sarah said, the requirement, if an industrial user was coming to us, their requirement would be 50 feet. Well, we're self-imposing that on ourselves, right? So we're taking that burden and putting the 50-foot buffer within our own site. Thereby, the concern has always been, what are we forcing upon an industrial developer later? Well, in this instance, nothing. We have taken their burden, incorporated it into our own site, thereby eliminating any burden that may be happen to an industrial user later.
Yes, over here.
And I mean, David, I think you've heard this a number of times. Well, we talked about it too. You've heard this a number of times from residents. They move into a place and then they're told that the field next door is always going to be there forever. And then all of a sudden they're putting in something that's totally consistent with I-2 zoning. And we have angry people at the planning commission or at the city council because they feel like they don't have adequate protection. But I do appreciate the point that we are imposing the same standards that would exist if it were reversed, that it was I-2 moving next to residential. Are there any other questions from commissioners for the applicant?
I got one. Page 3 of the MDS 9.5 dumpster regulations, minimum of 25 foot from any residential district. Can we take that to 50?
Yeah, that's what we've been asking for.
Yeah, I mean, I think here it's frankly not even relevant, right? Because we have all industrial around us, right? There is no residential surrounding us. Dick, Cindy, Eric, can we live with a 50-foot setback for the dumpsters? I believe all of our dumpsters are shown to be internal.
Only if it's possible or
Try to raise a hand.
Yeah, are we on yet?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay.
Okay, two things. Yes, we can. Two, if you look north, that property was 190 acres I bought from Globe Life. The south 73 acres is separated with a berm, 14-foot berm with trees, with I think even better than the 20-foot centers. And to the north, the 100 and some odd acres remaining is all industrial, heavy industrial. I got Niagara, I've got Lopez Foods, I've got Armacell. They're all industrial. They've got outside storage, all that kind of stuff. So we have buffered that, and we don't have an issue with those industrial users that we either sold them the dirt or we did a built to suit and they're paying us rent. So we took great care to put that berm in to separate the industrial from the commercial. So we're already living under that industrial environment, and I think it works like a charm. And the other multifamilies in the area are all surrounded by industrial. As the place develops, it'll all convert to the price of the dirt dictates the use and purpose. So eventually it'll all become, especially the frontage, commercial and multifamily. But we can put the garbage things wherever the heck you want them. That's not a problem.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners?
Mr. Pennington, we have Mike Wilson in our fire department raising his hand.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Please go ahead.
On the setback, you do have a 50-foot setback to the parking edge, and that's a landscape buffer. So there's nothing in there but landscaping. And then you've got about, typically 42 foot back to the actual building for 90-degree parking in that drive aisle. So the building themselves would be 90 foot back. But yeah, the 50-foot is the landscape buffer, and that's just till the actual parking spaces.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
That looks scaled to me for sure. It looks almost exactly 60 feet to those parking spots. If you use the
Cindy
scale.
is, oh, sorry, Mike. Cindy, is there anyone else signed up to speak?
Don't see anyone.
And it's *6. Is that Mike? I think I got my Alt A.
Alt A works great.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Just giving you just a second, just in case. I know it can be kind of complicated. *6 on your phone. All right, seeing none, then we can, is there any discussion on this item by commissioners?
I just want to make sure, this is Commissioner Claire, I just want to make sure, Janice, did you have your concern addressed sufficiently?
I did. And thanks to Mike McCubbin for that.
Well, if there's no other discussion or comment, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Great.
All right,
Please.
I'll move approval of PUD 1808, subject to the TEs.
It's been moved to approve PUD 1808. Is there a second?
And I'm sorry, and the amendment to the MDS of dumpsters being 50 foot from residential.
You're right, with the addition of the TE requiring that there be a 50-foot distance between the dumpsters and any residential property.
External residential.
External, excuse me, residential. The whole thing is residential. Yeah.
I was going to say something. We're going David Code.
We have a second, a digital second?
Second.
Perfect. Please cast your votes. Commissioner Hinkle, how do you vote?
Yes, please.
Perfect. And item 10 has passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's only 2:30. What are we supposed to do the rest of the day?
Right? This is going great so far.
Not jinx it, Mr. Box.
I'm happy to turn the chair back over to Chairman Cravens.
Thank you, Commissioner Pennington. I appreciate you chairing those items for us. That is the last item for separate consideration. Item number 11 was deferred to March 11th. So
Goodbye.
We are on to additional items. That item on the agenda is in your packet. It's a resolution approving a letter from the Oklahoma City Planning Commission to be sent to the mayor, city council, and city manager recommending support, cooperation, and improved dialogue with local school districts to improve collective success. The copy of that resolution is in your packet. A copy of the letter we've all agreed to is in the packet. There are some enclosures that are referenced in the letter that are not in the packet, but they are with the letter that will be remitted along with the resolution. So we've discussed this several times. I don't know if there's any other questions or thoughts on it. And if not, I'll certainly take a motion to approve the resolution.
I would really like to move approval of this resolution. And in doing so, I would like to commend my fellow commissioners who worked on this committee and who crafted this solution and resolution. I think the letter is a very good one. I think it is a remarkable step toward cooperation with the school districts, and this is a step that has been a long time coming, and is well done. So I'd like to move approval.
I'll second that. Hats off to Commissioner Cravens.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Please cast your votes when available.
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Echoing Commissioner Hinkle as well. I think it's outstanding. I know that I've been critical as far as this issue is concerned, because I really do think it is a statutory issue that really needs to be addressed by the state legislature for us to fix it. So I know that there will be plenty of public school superintendents around the state, around the city, who are going to be listed, who are watching this meeting and watching this closely. And I just want to say, I am in full support of the reforms that are needed for us to get there to address their issue. I don't know that the Planning Commission is going to be the place that can, in the long run, solve any of our problems with overcrowding and with the way that the funding mechanisms work. But I truly believe that we need greater things to be done on a level above this commission. And I am all about joining in that effort. So if you heard me, and if there's something I can do to help and support it, I'm all in. But I'm going to vote yes.
I appreciate that.
And I just have a quick question. As we're all signing these and we're remote, do we need to send a signature file to staff?
Yeah, Commissioner Clare, what we did because of the absence is we just altered the signature block. So the resolution is a unanimous, like that approval will go along. I'll sign the letter that's being submitted, and I sign that and scan that over to Ms. Hart today, Ms. Cooper Hart today. So she has that. She has the attachments that are referenced that I pulled from the files of our meetings, and then they'll have this resolution, and all of this will be passed along. Please cast your votes. Commissioner Hinkle, how do you vote?
Yes, please.
Before we vote, can I just say, if there is a way for us to actually circulate this for signature, even if it's just a file copy, I'm not saying we should wait to send it on to council, but I, for one, would be proud to put my signature on this. So even if it takes us a while to get around to it, I think it might be worth doing.
That would be, I mean, that was my original preference, as you know, just because I think the resolution's great, but there is something about seeing a piece of paper with 9 people's names and signatures on it. So I hate to put that coordination effort on staff now that we're back to remote. But if there's a way to do it that's practical, that I certainly support that as well.
I don't mind coming by and signing anything, but just me.
Yeah.
We probably all have DocuSign.
Yeah, but the question is, does the city of Oklahoma City have DocuSign?
Okay.
Well, we will figure it out. We can approve the resolution, and I will talk with staff about trying to figure out how to get everybody's signatures. And honestly, it could just be as simple as everybody signing their name on a sheet of paper. And if you have the ability to scan and send that file over, they could probably doctor it, or I will certainly offer to aid in that effort if I need to. So anyway, let's vote on the resolution, and then I'll help us figure out logistics.
Commissioner Laforge, how do you vote?
Sorry, I had clicked here. Yay, is that an old item? I didn't even look up top. I vote yes.
And that a resolution is approved unanimously. Given the approval, I'll just say there were a lot of people that participated in the letter, and I appreciated everybody's feedback as I worked to grab voices of people that participated and people who had comments and work their corrections and changes and thoughts into the letter. There's a little voice of a lot of people in this thing. And we don't have the ability to do a lot of things to help with schools, but we've done what we can, and that's more than I can say for a lot of other folks. So I'm certainly proud to have done at least some small part to try to aid the effort of improving things. I will circulate the resolution in the final letter on our collective behalf and ask staff to assist with the school districts that participated, so they're aware that we as a group did what we said we would do. And that's probably the most important thing, is that we did that. So at any rate, I appreciate everybody's effort, and particularly staff, Kim Cooper Hart and others, Jeff Butler and Sarah Welch and others who helped through this process. So thanks to everybody who played a role there. Next item on the agenda is communication and reports. Planning Commission committees, we don't need a report there. Planning Commission members, Commissioner Clare.
Nothing here.
Okay, Commissioner Powers.
No.
Commissioner Coffey.
No.
Commissioner Privet.
Nope.
Commissioner Hinkle. Commissioner Highsmith,
Nope.
Commissioner Pennington,
No, sir.
Commissioner LaForge.
No, sir.
The only thing I have is I asked for our next project. I asked Mr. Butler to recirculate the bylaws and try to set a date for kind of a lunch and learn deal for us to get those updated. We're in dire need of a bylaws update. Staff has a number of comments. What I'd like to do, and unless there's an objection from somebody in staff, I'd like to circulate the current draft that I received via email to the commissioners. I'll do it individually, not as a group, but so that they can review those bylaws with staff's comments and provide their feedback. I think that will go a long way to making our study session more productive, as opposed to having a study session where everybody gets the bylaws and sort of stares at them awkwardly for an hour and then we all leave. So we could actually get something done in that meeting. Is there any problem with that from staff's perspective?
No, not at all.
Okay, so I'll do that. I will circulate that to each commissioner after this meeting, but that's kind of the next thing I'm turning my attention to for us to move that along. And then the only other thing I'll say, since we've got the time here today, is just if there are other things that we need to do, I think it would be wise to get on staff's calendar. We've said a number of times, hey, we should talk about this at some point, or we should do something about this at some point. If there are topics that we really need to get together and address, I would much prefer that we try to get those on some sort of a calendar. That way we don't have 6 lunch and learns in a row, at some point later this year. So if you have thoughts or topics or other things that we need to discuss or need to address outside of this meeting format, please send that information to probably to Jeff and myself would be the appropriate people to circulate that to. And then I'm happy to try to coordinate on everybody's behalf and making sure that we make time to do that. So I don't know what those items are, but if you have them, let's circulate them and see if they're worth having a meeting about, so they don't sneak up on us. That's all I've got. Planning department, Jeff is gone. Sarah, anybody from your side of things have any comments for us?
Gone too, I guess.
Apparently not. JJ?
Nothing here.
Okay. Municipal Counselor, Susan?
Nothing here.
Excellent. That's the last item we have on the agenda today. So unless there are citizens to be heard, which I highly doubt, or other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thanks, guys. Have a great week and weekend.
You too. Bye.